everyone. My name is Godelnik. I'm the director of the BBA program, and I'm very excited to welcome you to the 2023 BBA Symposium. Thank you. I want to welcome our amazing students, soon-to-be graduates. I want to welcome the families, faculty, staff, and all of the BBA community for coming here to see the amazing work of our students. And I'm sure you already had the chance to see some of it, and we'll have more of it coming in the next 2 hours. When I see all of this work, it makes me really proud. It makes me proud of our amazing students, their passion, capabilities, and interests to challenge the status quo and to do so with creativity and innovation, and really thinking about how to tackle the difficult challenges that we have in new and exciting ways. And for me, as a program director, it's not just about being proud, it also makes me more optimistic about the future. I think as you see all of this amazing work, I hope that it also makes you optimistic about the possibilities that we could have with this young generation coming out to the world. So without further ado, I want to introduce our Dean of the School of Design Strategies, Cynthia Lawson Jaramillo.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for coming. Congratulations to all of the students. This is really, really exciting. In the School of Design Strategies, we study, interrogate, critique, practice, and make systems. And though it's likely that no one here at age 6 said, "When I grow up, I want to be a systems designer or a strategic designer," you may have said, in fact, some variation on wanting to make an impact in the world around you. And though you couldn't yet imagine how you were going to do that, you perhaps were committed to practices you later learned to associate with creativity and innovation. And you understood that to make sustainable and scalable change, you needed to ground this creativity in a business know-how, understanding how the worlds of economics, finance, management, and design business work. That is the eclectic and exciting mix of knowledge and skills of the BBA program, in which our students learn the business of design and the design of business. To the parents and families in the room, in supporting your student to join the BBA, you help them choose an innovative program at the forefront of design practice and leadership. You may be wondering, however, if that was the right choice. And so to assure you, I enlisted the help of ChatGPT, one of our go-to generative AI tools, which I prompted with the question, how closely does this description and curriculum resemble the skills college graduates need in 2023, and what is missing? And I pasted in the program's description from our website, as well as our curriculum. Here's what it answered back. Quote, "The description and curriculum you provided align closely with the skills and knowledge that college graduates need in 2023. The program's emphasis on design-led research, strategy, and systems thinking reflects the growing demand for individuals who can approach problem solving from a multidisciplinary perspective. The inclusion of courses on branding, product and service development, innovation, law, finance, ethics, value alignment, and sustainability prepare students for the complex challenges faced in today's industries. Additionally, the program's focus on project-driven learning, cross-industry collaboration, and industry engagement provides students with practical experience and the opportunity to work with influential organizations, which are invaluable for their professional development. However, this is still ChatGPT, it is worth noting that the skills required in the job market are constantly evolving. To ensure graduates are well prepared for the rapidly changing landscape, it may be beneficial to incorporate emerging topics such as data analytics, digital transformation, technology integration, and social impact into the curriculum. These areas are becoming increasingly important in various industries and can provide students with a competitive edge in the job market, end quote. As you will see this evening, and hopefully you've already been seeing all of the projects, in fact, students use their capstone explorations for those much needed evolutions and growth towards emerging topics. So all of that which is listed, I've seen across the various presentations of capstone I've attended. When faced with the opportunity and challenge to take on whatever topic was of interest, students chose to question the status quo, to carve out opportunities for creativity and intervention, and to practice and model what it means to be a strategic designer in this 21st century world of business. Congratulations, and thank you to all of the students presenting today, to the entire graduating class, and to the faculty who have helped get you here. Thank you all for being here to celebrate one of our most important programs, the BBA in Strategic Design and Management. And now I'm delighted to pass it on to my colleague, Robert Rabinovitz, Associate Professor of Design and Associate Director of the BBA program.
Where's Jonathan? Do we have the Zoom up for Daniella? Okay. Thanks, everybody. Great to be here. And one of the many gifts of teaching here over a period of time is we get to know many of you for a long time and develop long-term relationships. And although I haven't spoken to Daniella in a while, it was a real treat to pick one of our top students who ended up becoming one of my research assistants. I had her as a junior in the Integrative Research Methods class in 2011, I think. And anyway, she graduated from 2012. Here's her bio. Daniella Peña, Midwest Group Design Director, Accenture Song Design, formerly Fjord. Daniella Peña is a creative leader from Barranquilla, Colombia, that is currently based out of Chicago. She has a passion for inspiring organizational empathy and human impact through design. Daniella combines her skills in design research, visual and service design to tackle design problems holistically and create compelling ways of storytelling in her work. Daniella's multidisciplinary design experience and pragmatism help find new ways to apply design methodologies to achieve both business and user outcomes. As part of Accenture Song, Daniella leads the design capability in the Midwest and has worked for Fortune 500 to 1,000 across a diverse range of industries, including healthcare, retail, education, and the public sector. During her career, Daniella has designed everything from early education solutions and health insurance programs to end-to-end consumer support services that scale across North America. Her area of expertise is growth and product innovation, which focuses on helping clients envision new services and solutions in both new and existing value pools. Please help us welcome Daniella Peña.
Thank you so much, Robert, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. Before I keep going, I need some thumbs up that you can actually hear me because I only see the back of your heads, so I'm not sure. Okay, great. The back of your heads are all beautiful, by the way. I am very excited to be part of this milestone and see some of your capstone projects. I realize that most of you are likely sitting there tonight with a mix of emotions. Hopefully you're proud with what you've accomplished. There's likely some relief that you even made it here, and probably a hint of anxiousness for what's next. And if you don't feel any of those things, I felt all of those things 10 years ago, so I felt it all on your behalf. So I hope that my perspective and some of my post-graduation experience is going to give you a glimpse of what might be to come, as well as the confidence to take on whatever you think might be next. So to get started, I wanted to say that when I graduated, I went through 3 phases. Not in any particular order, they're kind of human phases. One was that of acceptance, which is, I can do this. I have what I need, go get a job. I can do it professionally. The second stage was more like denial. Am I qualified to do this? WTF, what am I doing? Some imposter syndrome. And then more the stage that I would say I've been in the last few years, which is more of self-growth. And that stage was where I really said, like, you know what? Just focus on what you love to do. Stop chasing the title, the rest will come. So with those phases in mind, get ready, because here comes my unsolicited words of wisdom and experience, so you can all learn from that. So I will start by saying that I can say with complete certainty, sitting where I am right now, that you have been incredibly prepared. You are graduating with a unique combination of skills, a mindset to take on any problem, and things that are going to carry you through in unexpected ways. I'm here to give a kudos to your faculty and professors. They know what they're doing. You probably questioned them along the way, but they did prepare you. You did learn some core skills, some theories, some methods, but I'm going to tell you that what's really going to help you afterwards is your project-based learning. This is going to be what's most relevant to you. I say that because, again, the faculty know what they're doing, and they've done a very good job at exposing you to the real world challenges. They've started to get you in the context of really building those practical skills on how to actually apply the methods you've learned, and actually done so by giving you the experience to do so in teams across a range of industries. So know that with that, the last 4 years have been worth it. Now comes the denial piece. You will go through a period of imposter syndrome. I did in my first few jobs. Every time I take on a new role, I kind of go through imposter syndromes. At this point, my mentors are like, Daniella, here it comes. So it won't ever go away. But over time, you are going to realize that your expertise and pragmatism is actually going to set you apart from the many, and I mean a lot, of individuals who are going to start listing design strategy, design thinking, human-centered design, all the buzzwords that you can think of on their resumes. And I'm telling you these things because I'm now in a position, like Robert said, I lead a team of 50 or so designers out of the Midwest. And I've had countless projects and clients. And without a doubt, my top performers and the talent I seek out, my competitors seek out, all come from very comparable programs, if not this exact one. So I can be very snarky and savage and say that the saturation of design wannabes that you will encounter are going to probably have you roll your eyes. But I'm dead serious when I say you should lead with your work. Show your experience that you've had, and don't take your multidisciplinary skills for granted, because if you showcase them in your work samples and how you show up in your job, it's going to actually help you make a name for yourself. People are going to try to put you in a neatly defined role, but your strength is actually going to come from your ability to connect the dots, which will mean you will start to push the boundaries naturally without even trying. So then finally, self-growth. So my experience and career trajectory did come about by pure chance, but it also coincidentally reflects my passions and some of the things I did when I was sitting where you are as a student. Like I said, my sole goal when I graduated was find a job, get paid, make sure you can live. But I've literally dabbled in almost everything as a student. Like Robert mentioned, I was his research assistant. I did an internship with an interior design agency. I did some marketing with Oscar de la Renta. I was a UI designer with McGraw-Hill. My capstone project was focused on health. Clearly, I had no idea what I wanted to focus on. But when the entry-level position came at Accenture, I took the opportunity almost blindly. My professor at the time, Christian Schneider, gave me a nice little nudge. And he said, just do it for 1 or 2 years. You won't regret it. You're going to learn something. And I was like, yeah, look at this offer. I can get paid. I can live. Well, guess what? Here I am 10 years later, still at the same company. Not because I had the great foresight to know that consulting companies would start to acquire agencies like nobody's business, but because it turns out that consulting was really a very good fit for someone who had no idea where they wanted to focus, as well as somebody who has fear of committing to a single industry. That entry-level job into what quickly became an acquired agency, which was Fjord, really helped me grow my skills and my confidence. So while on paper, I have been working in the same place for 10 years, my job, my role, and how I show up has changed quite drastically. I had mentioned that there was a period where I was kind of paying too much attention to my title. And that's because I had every title known to man: graphic designer, studio manager, service designer, design lead, design strategist, all the things. And it wasn't because I didn't know what I wanted to do. but just know that people are going to have a really hard time putting a label on your skill sets and what they embody when you graduate. But don't let that limit you, how you show up. Just chase the work and your passions and find a place where you can flex on all your skills and just bring insane value. So again, where you land, my advice is the same. Lead with your work and your core skills. Those projects that consumed you are the ones that are going to consistently show up. That Capstone project I told you about in health. Health is one of my key portfolios. I wouldn't have thought though, but it is. So here I am. And I will end with one thing. So unlike most unlike most degrees, there's literally an infinite number of ways that you can take your career. So this is my message for the family and the parents of the graduates listening to me today. You're not going to understand what they do. You're not going to understand even what the degree is that they just got in. 10 years later, my family can't even explain it. But just know that it's going to be a fast changing industry. The loops, turns, and leaps that they're going to take is all 1,000% normal. Looking at my graduating class right now, if you put us all up in a lineup, you would never think that we all got the same degree. You have individuals who are in brand strategy, UX, others who followed more digital design, others who are in marketing, and a lot who started their own businesses or agencies, various who actually developed well-known products and brands. But really, all of them were taught to embrace and navigate ambiguity, the complexity, become compelling storytellers, be practical and human-centered problem solvers, and of course, have a side of business centricity, which are all skills that they can apply absolutely anywhere. Anyway, I think I'm coming up on time. So with that, here are my last 4 things that I'm sure you're dying to learn about after graduation. First off, we do all have a professional uniform. Black is the color of choice, and you will see often that we're wearing black turtlenecks and sweaters. We do keep Post-its and Sharpies in our bags at all times, so make sure you have that tool, but know that now it's combined with the power to actually flex or spin up a mural or mirror board. No, the metaverse and AI have not replaced everything, but you should at least know enough about them to fake it till you make it. And you are going to cross paths with at least 3 to 4 individuals that are sitting with you in the room today, and it will likely be the ones that you like the least. So make sure that before you end your evening that you say, good job, well done, because you never know when you're going to come across them. So with that, I leave you. Have a phenomenal evening.
Thank you, Daniella. I'm not sure who's next. Oh, I didn't have an introduction, so Mike, please help us welcome Michael, one of our team leaders for the Capstone.
Hopefully we don't mess this up. Again, my name's Michael Sainato. I'm the course coordinator for Capstone 2. It's been 37 years and my parents still don't know what I do, so kudos to Danielle. I'm going to introduce the first group, What We Know We Don't Know. And the first video we're going to see is New Age for the company Caddis from Juman, Aleksandra, and Sydney.
Hi, this is Juman, Ola, and Sydney, and we welcome you to the New Age. Caddis thrives on its niche community with their anti-aging message, and we wanted to further this voice in a realm beyond eyewear. Over the semester, our team has conducted research on and produced prototypes for Caddis to enter the publication industry and create a new entity. Today, we are excited to share our final, the first edition of our Caddis-supported multi-platform publication, New Age. We believe that the publication industry is the perfect field for Caddis to enter for 3 primary reasons. The first being, a magazine can be a central platform for Caddis to communicate and exchange their ideas and beliefs to their niche audience. Second, a magazine will foster creativity and community within the Caddis circle, generating a stronger brand voice and identity. Lastly, magazines and social media platforms are great mediums to preserve the history and culture that is most dear to Caddis. And with that, we're bringing our 3 main pillars: trust, accessibility, and inclusivity. So, after many prototypes and tests of potential names for this publication, we found that New Age was the name that felt truest to Caddis. You may wonder, why New Age? Well, this play on words highlights the importance of this new era that we are embracing, where age does not hold any specific connotation, but rather just is. The core of New Age is to amplify the message of anti-aging with inspirational stories, creating a space where Caddis can collaborate with others outside of eyewear. Whilst we would love to share with you the entirety of our work, we will just highlight some of the key pages and aspects of the magazine. To begin, we have our table of contents that draws attention to our different articles that fall under 4 categories: community, features, experts, and lifestyle. We had the privilege of attending an event hosted by Caddis honoring the legendary photographer Danny Clinch. We were able to interview attendees and photograph the space while getting a real idea of who the Caddis community is. This article that we wrote in reflection of that night is part of the community section. This next read are pages from our features section, where we look into interesting individuals who are part of or related to the Caddis community. As seen here, Irvin Randall and the Old Gays are examples of people who we would want to include. Within our experts, we dive into harder to talk about subjects, such as the psychology of age and mature sex. We then continue on to the lifestyle segment, where we discuss topics ranging from late bloomers to our travel tips and tricks. As part of our cross-platform entity, a New Age YouTube channel will host videos that work in conjunction with articles. The area of correspondence includes the featured community member, introducing a new activity, a collaboration with one of the features, and a short video of a community member. Having a multi-platform experience is important to us, as it establishes a continuation of interest through generations that sustains our community as time passes. Similarly, QR codes are included throughout the publication that direct our magazine readers to the channel. We have created a prototype video for reviewing, where you can hear community members Liza and Noah's story. Moving forward, we will expand on some of the logistical details. First and foremost, financing. Upon looking at various different models and modes of financing such a project, we decided to work with a system that is founded on a triad partnership. The 3 partners for our first issue would be Caddis Eyewear, Legatta, a sportswear company for all ages and sizes, and ID Genève, a sustainable wristwatch brand. We believe that these 3 companies share strong core values such as inclusivity and sustainability, and a similar target audience. A 3-company partnership creates shared financial responsibility and accountability, an expanded network, diverse skill sets, and greater motivation to achieve. Caddis, to be the main sponsor of the magazine, will of course have control over strategic partnerships. For distribution of the magazine, a biannual selective distribution would be the best plan of action for the beginning of this project. The benefits of this model include targeted distribution for our niche audience, more control over the quality of the magazine, saving on distribution costs, an increased demand as supplies are lower, and a feeling of exclusivity. Thank you all for your attention. We are excited to share the magazine in full, and we hope that the New Age can inspire us all for a better tomorrow.
Okay, next up we have our first independent project of the evening, Buy Me Not by Andrea.
Hi, my name is Andrea, and today I want to talk to you about consumerism. I am sure that at one point or another, we have all fallen victims of purchasing something on an impulse. Imagine if we added up all the little unnecessary purchases from everyone across the world. How much money could have been saved? Was there any reasoning behind buying? What are the influences pushing us into becoming borderline shopaholics? I asked myself these questions on the context of living in a fast-paced, online shopping, capitalist society. In the last 20 or so years, consumption has gone up 65%, which equates to 95 billion metric tons of new materials. Having the power of buying with just a click, and all the marketing that we are pushed to every day, just keeps skewing us towards being more unsustainable with our practices. Not only is this a lot of resources, production, and transport, but the numbers on diagnosed hoarders are going up from 1 to 20 people to a potential 1 in 5 people. My idea and small contribution against these unhealthy practices is called Buy Me Not. I wanted to create a space for buffering and really questioning the intention and real necessity behind our daily purchases. Buy Me Not is an app that helps you ask yourself the right questions before making a possible impulse buy and keep a conscious inventory of your purchases. Whenever you may find yourself in front of a shelf or scrolling through Amazon and see an item that you're considering to buy, open Buy Me Not's quiz. This function asks you questions and gives you an answer on whether it is worthwhile to make that purchase. Maybe you will end up saving money from an unnecessary impulse buy. Results from experimental testing show that the questions on Buy Me Not's quiz have been able to help users lower down their purchases by 61%. This is almost 2/3 of their unnecessary purchases avoided. The quiz not only gives you advice on whether to buy or not, it is a literal buffer that gives you a moment to pause and reconsider before buying. It helps fight over consumerism on a personal level because just the action of opening it on the app already flags that what you are considering to buy might not be worth it. To help with decluttering, accountability, and organization, Buy Me Not also has an inventory. The user can upload things that they already own as well as new purchases, and the inventory will keep tabs on these items. It will flag out and send notifications when, for example, you have too many of one item, or when things start to get crowded and it is maybe time to declutter or slow down on swiping away with your card. Day to day, Buy Me Not helps the user not become a victim of pushy targeted marketing. It gives you a small time of reflection to make your purchases less of an impulse and also consider how much you have and how much you actually need. My app hopes to enter the personal wellness and, on a smaller scale, the sustainability spaces to change individual behavior for the better. Users give some of their purchasing power to the platform so their decision on whether to buy a non-necessity doesn't rely only on them and can be given a second thought. It is a way to keep yourself accountable but lightheartedly and in your own space. I see the success in the app within its shareability. You can achieve a lot personally when taking the time to take the quiz or sorting out your inventory. But perhaps comparing with friends can promote more of these healthy practices. This is also a disruption in social media. Instead of comparing who has the most and bragging, you may show how you value what you have and what you are thinking of getting and how that brings wellness for you, as well as the ability to save money and become in touch with more sustainable consumption.
Okay, next up, we have another independent project, Your Waste is Taking Up Space by Aqua.
My name is Aqua Wood, and for the past year, I've been dedicating my senior capstone project to find out how I can replace plastic and cardboard packaging with mushroom packaging. Everyone has received this infamous package. There's an extreme amount of tape wrapped around your package. You have to grab your scissors or your X-Acto knife. You open the box, your product is tiny, your package is huge, and if you're lazy like me, you're not bothered to fold the edges together to condense the box. Or maybe you've received your product in plastic packaging, and the scene is you've been influenced by a friend to get a certain book, or maybe it's makeup, or a new Stanley Cup water bottle. The chances are you will be way too excited to retrieve your product and completely disregard the recycling logo. And that's not on you, that is simply poor product design. If you have afterthoughts like me with waste, maybe you feel guilty and start asking questions in your head. Are my packages even being recycled? Why do packages waste so much space? Why aren't packages designed to be kept? And for me personally, I wanted to find out if there's truly a solution to all of these questions and whether one could replace cardboard and plastic packaging. The answer is mushroom packaging. Mushroom packaging is composed with two natural ingredients, hemp hurd and mycelium. Mycelium is the vegetative body of fungi that will eventually turn into a mushroom when conditions are right. After my short-lived prototyping one began, I realized there was literally nothing setting me apart from existing mushroom packaging companies, and I really needed to center my focus and dedicate my final idea into a specific category. So I thought, what better way to redesign an $86 billion industry where consumers purchase 19 billion pairs of shoes annually? My niche is to evolve shoebox packaging and innovate my design in a way where we can eliminate the need for an in-store shoebox bag, make the shoebox smaller and storable, and communicate the possibility of being able to compost the package yourself via plant. Before I started my second prototype, I collected data from 216 people ranging from ages 20 and 57. What I gathered was that 100% of those had bought shoes from a store, 73% of those bought at least 3 shoes a year, 82% received a store bag to hold their shoes, while the other 18% put the shoes in a bag they were already holding, and 70% of those owned plants. So I began round 2 of prototyping, and I had a clear and set vision. First, I had to find out a way to communicate clearly that this is indeed a shoebox, have handles to eliminate the need for a store bag, communicate to compost the package, and have a symbolistic statement that represents one's carbon footprint, which is why I chose an outline of the shoe. Now, thinking of phrases, thinking of where to put the words and the handle was the trickiest part, and 4 hours later of rearranging led me here, and I realized it looked like sushi. So I scrapped the idea to embed handles and instead made it optional and landed to my third and final prototype for my mushroom shoebox. The user will now have far more variety. They can now have an optional reusable cactus leather handle, store the package in their home for interior design purposes, use it to store items, or compost it in their plants. Or they could just simply throw it away without the factor of guilt and instead will know it will decompose in 45 days. So you're probably thinking, what does a shoebox have to do with sustainability? How can such a small item that nobody thinks about make a difference? For scale, this is the amount of packaging waste the average human being produces in a single year, which is equivalent to 500 pounds. Let that sink in. The average shoebox is 0.32 pounds. Now multiply that by this classroom or by the 19 billion pairs of shoes that are bought annually. You'll preserve 270 shoeboxes in your lifetime, which is equivalent to preserving 0.089 metric tons of CO2 emissions. And for reference, that is equivalent to producing 6,000 plastic bags. I hope what you take away from my presentation is how small-scale change leads to large-scale impact. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have our final independent project for the first section, Grow Your Own Greens by Liza Jane.
Hi everyone. I'd like to begin by reading you an excerpt from my children's book, Grow Your Own Greens. Money does not grow on trees, it does not grow on land, but do not underestimate the power it can hold in your hand. Sunday is my favorite day because it is when I go to the farmer's market with Dad. There are all types of things you can buy at the farmer's market. We begin at the baker's stall where there are many types of bread. I smile at their funny names: sourdough, catskill, cinnamon twist. Dad always buys a big loaf for the week. Next, we go to the fish stall. There are many fish to choose from, blue ones and purple ones, big ones and small ones, but they are all smelly. I have to wait by the fruit and vegetable stall because otherwise I'll feel sick. The last stall we visit is the best one of all. It is the plant stall. The flowers smell sweet and look very pretty. The owner is named Verda and she knows everything about plants. She tells me the names of different species that are in season, but we never buy any plants because Dad says they're too expensive. I wonder how I could get some flowers of my own. Count your dollars closely. When you add and when you subtract, it will teach you to be careful and keep your piggy bank intact. I began to think about how money works and how I could use it to get what I wanted. As I looked around Verda's stall, I noticed a basket with packets of seeds. Each packet was $1. These are plants you can eat, she tells me with a wink. The packets read mint, rosemary, and cilantro. I know, I can start my own plant business. I asked Dad for a loan to buy some seeds. It was $3 total. I promised to pay him back with the money I planned to earn from growing and selling my plants. When we get home, Dad shows me how to sow the seeds on a plot in our garden. We cover the seeds lightly with soil and press down. Dad shows me how to spritz the surface with water to moisten it and settle the seeds.
This excerpt is the introduction to a children's story of a girl who, through an interest in plants, learns how to start a business. Greens, which hints at the plants Jane grows, takes on the alternative meaning of money. Through Jane's journey to establishing her own plant business, she learns crucial concepts of personal finance. By starting early, these lessons can help children develop healthy financial habits and attitudes towards money that will serve them well throughout their lives. Okay, so how did I end up here? Last summer, I interned at a bank, and on the first day of orientation, we had a guest speaker address the intern class. He was a financial advisor for many years, and one of his greatest takeaways from interacting with clients was that money can get personal really quickly. When we talk personal finance, we capture the footprint of an individual's life. So what happens when a client calls and says their child was recently diagnosed with a terrible disease? It's, hey, I need to put X amount towards this treatment. Or what happens when you lose your job and you're the sole supporter of your family? It's, hey, I need to reassess my financial situation because of the circumstances. Money is the first thought because of how it intrinsically affects our lives. This lesson dispelled the dull, serious, and intimidating face of finance for me, and really set the foundation for my interest in this project. Now, the scenario I described is where people can afford a financial advisor, but what about those who can't and don't know where to begin? Only 33% of adults worldwide are financially literate. To be financially literate, a person would need to correctly answer at least 3 out of 4 questions related to financial concepts of risk diversification. This is the simple concept of don't put all your eggs in one basket. Inflation. This is the rate of increase in price over time. Numeracy. This is one's ability to understand and work with numbers. And finally, compound interest. This is earning interest on your savings and then earning interest on those. These are all concepts that I cover in my book. When conducting university student interviews, I found that nearly all could benefit and, more importantly, desired early introductions to concepts of personal finance. But how early? Doctors at the University of Cambridge reported that by age 7, children have developed many of the basic concepts that relate to financial behaviors. Let me put this theory to the test. Welcome to this portion of the video where kids review my book.
Whoa!
I read my book to a grade 4 class, part of the Toronto Catholic District School Board. These kids are aged 9 to 10 years old. Here's what they had to say. The overall reaction was very positive. They understood all the concepts I sought to teach them: numeracy, risk diversification, compound interest, and inflation. They understood the dual meaning of greens in the story. They liked and responded well to the visuals. And what surprised me was that they mentioned a big financial term. Xavier mentioned inflation. And although I go over the concept in my book, I omitted these terms deliberately to simplify understanding. Having a child relate my story to a term used in the real world shows how smart and attentive children can be. The teacher of this class, Miss Robbins, also said that she used my book reading as a kickstart into the class's financial literacy unit, a mandatory unit in Ontario, Canada. I would like to leave off with a poem I used at the very end of my book. Now you know the secret of how to count your cash, of how to spread it in many ways and how to make it last, of how something as small as a seed can grow and grow and grow until it turns as big as you. What you reap, you sow. Let me tell you now that being financially sound and managing your money can bring you a greater sense of security and peace of mind than anything else. So why not start sooner rather than later?
Okay, our final presentation in the first group is another external partner project, On the Road, for Candylab, with Kelly, Hannah, and Maya.
You hear that? I think that's the sound of On the Road by Candylab. I'm Hannah.
I'm Kelly. And I'm Mia.
And we're excited to share our vision for Candylab's next big thing, so let's go. At Candylab, we want to make your travel memories last a lifetime. Let us be a part of your journey and help create unforgettable moments that will stay with you forever. Candylab's well-crafted wooden toy cars are popular among children. Today, we're presenting a solution that we believe will help Candylab expand beyond the toy market into a new and older audience while staying true to their Americana roots. Based on our market research, we have identified a great opportunity for Candylab to tap into the growing post-pandemic travel trend by targeting adults seeking adventure. Through this new launch, we hope to expand Candylab's customer base, increase sales, and draw attention to their existing product line. Our solution is a curated and individualized road trip experience that caters to the travel-minded adults who wish to commemorate and show off their journeys in a unique and visually appealing way. Thus, the product we designed consists of a beautifully crafted, laser-cut wooden map for home display available to all customers. We've also created a series of magnetic candy car enamel pins for consumers to mark each location they visit on their map, with the goal of collecting all pins through their travels. In addition to being a functional and a decorative piece, the product offers an engaging experience for customers, encouraging them to explore new places and spark their wanderlust.
Here's a step-by-step guide on how customers can begin using our product. Customers will begin by purchasing the wooden map directly from Candylab's e-commerce website. This product will be available to all Candylab customers via the Shop tab. Here, they can download the On the Road app from the product page and begin their road trip journey. As customers begin their road trip, they'll be able to purchase the location-exclusive pins sold at local retailers. These pins will not be sold on the website and will only be available by visiting an in-store location. Customers can add each pin to their decorative map when they return home. Finally, customers will be able to use our app to do a variety of things, including tracking their current road trip progress, learning more about the selected route and various hotspots, and tuning into Candylab's personalized road trip playlists, which can be accessed by connecting the user's Spotify. For this pitch, we have created prototypes for the Pacific Coast Highway and Atlantic Coast road trips only, but the final map would include the connected entirety of the United States. Here's our laser-cut prototype for the Atlantic Coast route in its entirety. And here are the pins we designed, which are inspired by hotspots along the route like the Statue of Liberty in New York and Atlantic City in New Jersey. This is the prototype for the Pacific Coast Highway route. And here are pin designs inspired by locations like the Olympic National Forest and California coast. We've also received positive feedback regarding the launch of this product from both adult design enthusiasts and design students, with participants stating that it would inspire them to travel more as well as raise their interest in Candylab's other products. Moving on to who would buy from us. We have identified 3 buyer personas that match our target audience: the solo traveler who loves to venture to new and unfamiliar places, the family who loves US road trips, and lastly, the collector of vintage and rare home accessories.
To ensure a successful launch, we have developed a 4-phase plan that outlines the step-by-step process of how we intend to introduce our idea to the public. The first phase focuses on building awareness by exploring ways to inform existing customers about our new project and attract new customers. To achieve that, we will be releasing teasers on social media and the website a few weeks before the official launch to build anticipation and quickly reach the existing customer base. We also plan on putting up posters and buzz ads throughout the city with QR codes linked to the website for early access sign-up. We want to generate as much curiosity and hype for the brand. Moving on to phase 2, convincing and persuading the audience to choose Candylab. We will officially launch our first 2 collections on both Instagram and the website so customers can fully shop and learn more about the product line. Then we hope to host a brand event to introduce new collection in person. Some people to invite would include current prospects, loyal customers, influencers, and PR media. Moving on to phase 3, once the audience commits to us, how do we keep our promise as a brand? To do that, we plan to execute a direct-to-mail campaign with physical postcards reminiscent of the classic road trip ones. With a high ROI, we believe that this is an effective way to keep the customers informed about the collection. This is also when we will launch our app, which enables users to track their travel journey and enhance their overall experience. Lastly, the final phase is support. How do we continue supporting a long-term relationship with our customers? For long-term support, we wish to eventually release a whole collection with all different road trip routes along with physical candy cards inspired by the state pin designs. We're confident that this approach has a lot of potential for continued growth. We also wish to foster a community through the On the Road app for users to share their journeys and cherish memories with one another.
Our initial cost analysis for the product launch, which takes account of production materials, shipping, marketing, and a buffer for unexpected expenses, comes out to around $90K. We also recommend selling the maps for around $70 each and the pins separately for around $8. While the cost may seem like a significant amount, we believe that it's well worth the investment in building Candylab's reputation as a forward-thinking, design-focused company that customers can rely on. And to wrap things up, once again, I'm Hannah.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Mia. And we're the On the Road team. Thank you for taking the time to hear about our exciting new product launch for Candylab. We are confident this new line will offer a unique experience for all customers, and we look forward to seeing Candylab reach new heights with this. Now join us on the road.
And if we could get all of the students who we just saw their great work up here underneath the screens. We good? There he is. Matt, say something. Yeah, there you go. You're big.
Oh, good. I didn't know if I was the he you were referring to. Hi.
So, if any of you have ever made coffee, listened to music, turned on a light, used a computer, or barbecued, chances are you've come across the work of Ammunition Group. As the head of experience design and design strategy of Ammunition, Matt works hands-on with the studio's clients and partners to create new product and service businesses, engage customers in meaningful ways. Matt has worked in close partnership with the founders of numerous startups, with the leaders of organizations including Apple, Skype, Starbucks, Square, Target, and the University of California, among others. I like to think of Ammunition Group as the original Shark Tank, right? They work with startups and they bring their ideas forward. As a native San Francisco, prior to Ammunition, Matt was president of Meta Design in the US and a strategist at Frog, where I'd led product service innovation programs for clients including 23andMe, Autodesk, DirecTV, HP, and Shangri-La Hotels. A native of San Francisco, Matt is a graduate of UC Berkeley, where he studied archaeology and architecture. I think Matt's greatest achievement is being a longtime member of the DFL cycling team in San Francisco, and I'll let Matt tell you later on what DFL stands for. So without further ado, my colleague and friend, Matt Rolandson.
Hi, thank you, everybody. It's funny to hear your own background. My background actually didn't start that differently than all of yours in the design strategy program that you're all in. So I just wanted to say congratulations to everyone on their Capstone project and being near the end. What a massive achievement. I'm really happy to be here sharing that with you. Thanks for having me. Should I say more stuff? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So questions for the students.
Oh, so quiet now. Sorry.
Can you hear us?
Like barely.
Matt, can you hear me? There you go. So questions for the students. Sorry.
Michael, you sound great. Okay. Oh, on the project we just saw?
On any of the projects we saw.
Oh, great. So I guess I'll just start with the one we just saw, which I thought was really incredible. And I sort of didn't quite catch it. Of all the things you could possibly have chosen to extend the brand, how did you end up choosing this one? I think it's fantastic.
Oh. Are these on?
Yeah.
No. Group's over here. There you go. Are these on? No.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Well, Candylab is they're very into the Americana design brand. So we wanted to bring that appeal and the attraction of America into our project. And we thought, what better way than road trips? So we kind of expanded on that idea, and that's how we landed on our final project.
Cool. I think it's so great. When I first saw the brief, but not your project, I thought, oh, well, they're going to recommend doing a full-size car, which I think was possible, but I really do like this a lot more. The idea of like extending the ethos of the brand and the sort of wonder and joy that people obviously feel from the product to out into the landscape, out into experiencing the world. It's just so smart and sensitive. I was wondering, do you think that in addition to just being a promotional thing, it could be actual something that contributes to revenue? And also, could you imagine it, them actually sort of being in the travel business and working with a company like Airbnb somehow?
I mean, possibly, yeah, we weren't able to think that far ahead, but
Sure.
we do think that like with this project, we wanted to increase attention to their other products as well and kind of get more brand experience, but yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Let's see. Have you been able? I'm curious. Have you been able to expose the people from the company to your concept yet?
Yeah. So for our final, Vlad, the CEO, was able to come and watch our video, and we were able to show our prototype to him.
How'd it go?
Well, we think he loved it. I hope he loved it. But yeah.
Did it seem like he might actually adopt some of your ideas? They seem really super.
Yeah, he really enjoyed the idea of the state, like individualized designs, and we think that maybe that could be a potential direction, if not the whole idea.
Mm-hmm. So good. That's great. Okay, hang on a sec here. So does it matter if I sort of jump around between the groups, Michael? I'm sorry to ask.
Anywhere you want.
Okay. The Caddis team. Hi. You might have noticed I'm wearing a Caddis product on my face right now. It's a business I know really well. I'm kind of a similar.
Let's just full disclosure. Matt and Tim Parr known each other since how old? You were like 12 or something like that?
Younger than that.
Younger than that, so.
Yeah. And I should disclose, I have had this project with Caddis, actually, the same prompt, like what should they do to extend their business and their brand. So if you want to ask me any questions about that, I'm happy to answer those. Let's see. I was wondering, you chose to take out of a media path, which I think is really savvy, since Caddis is already so media savvy. Was there any particular reason you didn't also consider other lines of product alongside the eyewear? I was kind of curious you didn't go there.
No, yes. So I guess our main idea was to go further and beyond the product, which we feel like was kind of what Caddis was asking for. And that's why we wanted to create an identity or an entity that would be separate from Caddis as well and would be able to thrive as an entity by itself. And that's how New Age was created, which is a way for Caddis to share its main message about anti-aging with the whole community, and for that to go further into the world, and so that other people can be included in that message. And as a result, Caddis would get the message and the product into the world, and yeah.
I think
That's
also
cool.
a large portion of it was like trying to create this community with Caddis, and so if it was just an additional product, it would have kind of been limiting in that way, and so this is definitely more community focused, and I think that's what the brand stands for, so that's why we went that way.
Cool. I got it. Yeah. So I'm curious on the content side, the subject of aging and you kind of your mindset relative to aging I always liked the way that they take that subject, in a kind of real but fairly lighthearted way. But there are a lot of kind of real issues associated with seniors or getting older around like healthcare and policy. And there's a bunch of old-fashioned sort of public policy, non-governmental organization kind of advocacy groups for people that are aging. Like, what do you think? Would Caddis be smart to cover stories and do journalism and get involved on the policy side of things, or would it be better for them to just stay in their lane and continue as a lifestyle brand? Like, as you were learning about Caddis, and you've really studied the company. What do you think? Could they expand that way as well, or not?
I mean, they potentially could. At the moment, we have included an experts section in the magazine where they'd be able to speak about kind of the harder to talk about topics, such as, I think we mentioned it in our video, Mature Sex Life, psychology of age, and so on. And so we're already kind of delving into that. But that's definitely like an avenue that they could expand to further down the line.
And also, just to mention, Caddis is bold, so they're not afraid of talking about subjects like that. So that's also why we feel like having those more difficult to talk about topics is not something out of the line for them. It's something that they would be able to get into and have people engaged and have people excited about those topics as well. And maybe even start those conversations sometimes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here, but it's a rare opportunity to ask someone in my age bracket, someone in your age bracket about this. Do you think the brand is interesting, or do you think it's kind of an old people's brand? Like, what do you think?
So my mom is an accountant, and she's not, like super trendy, and she saw this and she's like, this is cool. And my mom's the coolest person I know, but visually, no.
Okay.
But I think it's very appealing for this market to kind of see these interesting people at their age and what you can be doing with your life, what other people are doing, and it's very community driven.
Yes, and it's also very important to show that age is not a bad thing and aging is not a bad thing. And whenever I told anyone in my family, any of my friends, they've never heard of the brand. And when they did, they were like, oh my God, how did we not hear about it? This is amazing. This is so cool. And I feel like that's what the brand is thriving off of. Like, that's their main thing that they should be talking about.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's great.
Back to the question about like whether it's cool or not, I'd definitely say Caddis is cool. I mean, when we went to that Caddis event, I felt so uncool. Everybody just like was dressed in such amazing ways. They were really incredible people. And so I'd definitely say, coming from a younger demographic, they're people that like definitely want to be like that right now.
Yeah.
Great, that's awesome. I just want to be sensitive to time and see if we can't jump on to, let's go to a packaging project right up your alley, Matt.
Yeah, worked on that project quite a bit. So I'll just jump right into it. Like, what do you think the barriers to business adopting your solution really are? Like, it all makes sense in the context of your presentation. How do you think you might trigger organizations to adopt your solution?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as of right now, because supply is low, pricing is very high. So as long as manufacturers have an incentive to lower their pricing, whether that's competition, I feel like that would be, very ideal in the mushroom packaging space. But yeah, as long as supply is low, pricing will always be high. So yeah.
And do you have any? I mean, do you have any ideas about ways to sort of maybe even artificially tip the scales that way?
Artificially, no, but that's why I wanted to dive right into the shoe industry. I feel like the shoe industry, there's a huge appreciation for exclusivity. We have sneakerheads that are willing to pay premium prices, so who's not to say they're not willing to pay a little extra for packaging?
Yeah. In your research, did you look at a company called Books that has taken kind of the opposite approach to making, instead of making packaging even lighter weight and more temporary, they're making it heavier weight and more durable and reusable? Have you thought about that? And if you have, what do you think the strengths and weaknesses of that might be?
I have not heard of them, but I'll definitely look into them. One of the main companies I was looking at was Ecovative, and I found that their packaging was actually really heavy, which I wasn't a huge fan of, in all honesty. I think a lot of people like packaging when it's light, when it's able to be, brought to your home very conveniently. So I think the smaller, the lighter, the better.
And apart from sort of the obvious, and in this case, very real signal that the brand and the company is committed to sustainability, do you think there are other opportunities for brands to use the material that and the system that you're working on in order to tell a story about their brand? Things that aren't necessarily just about sustainability?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with the mushroom industry as a whole, it's expanding every year. It was worth $60 billion in 2020, and it's expected to reach $90 billion by 2027. And it's not just for mushroom packaging, it's for fashion, specifically shoes. Mushrooms are used for creating houses now, surprisingly. But yeah, I definitely think there's a huge space for corporations to take responsibility. It doesn't just have to be with mushrooms, or creating new products, but more so replacing an old system. I think that is the way to be sustainable in the future.
That's great. You pick a great category. We work at Ammunition on a lot of products that are in the packaging space like you, but also a lot of the products we design include leather. And we've done a ton of work replacing, traditional leather or synthetic leathers with mushroom-based leathers. And I think it's just going to, keep growing as a category. Great choice.
Thank you.
So let's lead into, from there, why we buy so much stuff.
Yeah, I'm just curious about sort of at the personal level, if there was like a kind of a deeper motivation for getting into this, and just to build on that, like, do you think that there's an opportunity to like actually kind of enter more like the almost like the self-help space, based on the personal motives you have there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it came from a personal taste, quote unquote, that it's my own practice to buy less, but it's also conscious and sustainable. And I do think it touches upon the wellness space, and I think it could be kind of like self-helpful, either on a small scale or to change how people actually purchase. Hopefully that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. Yeah, it just struck me that it is such a powerful subject. I mean, we live in a consumer, at least in the US, we live in a consumer society. It dominates a lot of people's attention, and it might be as much a mental health problem as anything, or a mental health challenge anyway. And I as I was, thinking about the product, I couldn't help but think like, wow, this is a really, of course, there's a sustainability thing and a stuff related to economics and our personal economics, but it seems quite deep. I was really impressed that you chose it as a subject.
Thank you so much. I mean, yeah, it is kind of like I'm trying to sell the idea to stop selling, which is kind of antithetical, but I think beyond being something that is sellable, it's something that is actually relevant and important and defying our daily practices, but maybe better for people in the long run.
Yeah, I just quickly, because I can't resist, even though it's a negative behavior, at least we can abstractly say it's a negative behavior. I mean, people do it because it does make them feel good. Maybe not for long, but it does make them feel good. I'm wondering if you have any ideas about sort of replacement behaviors for people that, are maybe more healthy or more productive for people.
Yeah, definitely. This is something that I've received as feedback, which is always appreciated. And there is like a satisfaction when we buy something, and I would want my platform to give you that same satisfaction, whether like on a virtual congratulations, or maybe you share with your friends and you change the culture from, oh, look at all of these things that I'm buying, to something like, oh, look how much I can save, and look how much better I feel because I'm conscious of my purchases.
Just one last quick comment. So much has changed in the last decade around kind of scientifically understanding what creates happiness and what doesn't. If you felt like taking the subject further, I think you could get into a lot of readily available science about that could augment your product idea in a way that gives people real specific or gives you real specific things to offer to people as a kind of a replacement to that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you. Definitely looking at the science of it has been kind of like something to point more towards, and definitely something to look into. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for choosing it as a product.
A perfect segue into financial health for young people.
Oh my God. Love this so much. I mean, the market, people like me and people like you are, we're so good at getting people to feel good about maybe acting against their own medium or long-term economic interests. So I couldn't help but love where this project was coming from. So thanks for that. It's kind of a similar question. Like, now that you've done all this work and articulated it so clearly, what do you think the barriers to adoption really are for something like this?
My mind has gone blank.
Oh, don't worry about it. Well, when you imagine trying to convince somebody to carry your product or promote your product, what kind of story do you think you're going to tell them in order to get there?
Well, essentially, money is something that affects everyone, and it affects our lives in small ways, it affects it in big ways, and I think that was kind of the intentions that kind of grounded the foundation of this project for me. So I wanted to get that message out there. It's something that kids should learn very early on. My research, it showed that by 7 years old, kids have already adopted a lot of their major financial behaviors that they'll carry out throughout their lives. We want to make sure that those are the right lessons and the right behaviors that they're carrying through, because what happens when you're in your 20s and or late teens and you're making your first maybe big financial decision of taking on student loan or student debt. That's a big decision to take on, and we go into these big decisions not really understanding what they can mean for us. So I just wanted to spread awareness from a young age. That's what this whole project was, and I think we can also explain finance in a very simple, fun, and engaging way. I don't think it needs to be scary or intimidating or something that we don't talk to our children about. I think it's something we should talk about, and I think we should talk about it with empathy in it as well. And so I wanted to create a story that reflected that.
Yeah. I'm just selfishly interested in this. Over the course of working on the project, have you developed a sense of like what it might take to make, financial sustainability and financial self-determination like a popular thing? like a not like a eat your vegetables, they're good for you kind of thing, but like a thing that's really as much a part of life as like pop music or fashion or whatever. I'm just curious if you think that we have a chance to get financial literacy into pop culture that way.
I think there's so many avenues to be explored with this for sure, and there are many great resources that I came upon in my research. One was Zogo Finance. It was started by university students at Duke, and it's a financial literacy app that it kind of turns it into a game. So essentially, as you do lessons, you can earn money from learning those financial literacy lessons, and who doesn't want to earn money? But there's so many avenues with this. I wanted to do something where it pared down the 4 major concepts that I found through my research and kind of stripped away all the bombardment of information that people can feel. So.
And we didn't even talk about it yet at all, but I'll just mention like the book and the art and the writing, it's all so sweet and sensitive and beautiful. Congrats on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Michael, is there any other stuff you want to talk about or anything anyone wants to ask me?
Any questions for Matt from anybody? And if not, any words of wisdom before we send them off into the world?
I'll wait for questions because I'm not sure about that.
Any questions for Matt from anybody up here? I guess it's all you, Matt.
Okay. Well, it's, I'll just mention a couple things because it's that time of year. I'll just be really open with the group. It's a time of year where people my age or around my age that have kids that are graduating college send these really funny, awkward emails like, hey, my kid is graduating from Parsons. And it's just and they want to talk and all that. And I just want to say, don't be shy about that kind of thing. People like me, and I talk about it with my colleagues and friends all the time, we actually really do want to talk to people at your stage that are getting out of school and maybe just trying to set their plan for figuring out the transition from school into, getting a job or having a business or whatever it might be. And my biggest piece of advice at this stage is, even if you're feeling shy or insecure, it's okay. Talk to as many people as you can, for them to share their knowledge about how business works or how their part of the industry works. If they're any good, chances are they actually want to share that information with you. It's not like every single interaction with this kind of person is a job interview. It's probably not. But there is a saying in the kind of startup and investment world that if you ask for money, you'll get advice. And if you ask for advice, you'll get money. So I think just being really out there about asking a lot of people for advice. It's a great habit to be in, not just now, but forever. And if you're insecure about doing it, just try to do it anyway. It's going to make a really big difference.
Awesome.
Michael, I really appreciate your inviting me back for this. I really look forward to looking at the videos and learning about the projects. It's just a great thing to be involved with, even in a minor way. Thank you.
Well, always a pleasure. Thanks so much, Matt. So thanks to everybody up here. One round of applause.
Yeah, congratulations, everybody.
Again, that first session, super, super inspiring. So happy to see the work of our students and so proud of the graduates from the BBA program. The first session's theme, what we know we don't know. I mean, how incredible is that, right? There's so much that we know that we don't know. But our second session, perhaps a little bit more fun to say, what we don't know we don't know. And at the end of the day, that's almost impossible to qualify. But when we think about it, so many of us are doing work and research in spaces that we never knew we would be in. We never even knew these would be fields of interest. We never knew this could be a job. So a lot of the projects that we're about to see in our second session are really responding to that prompt in a really beautiful way. So without any further ado, what I would like to do is start by introducing our first project, which is an external partnership with Zar by Raema, Teresa, Elena, and Olivia. Amazing. As somebody working in fashion, like, oh, we need this. Our next project is an independent project by Brooke.
I want you to imagine the tech products of the world today. Think about the items you might interact with daily or hope to own one day. Now, imagine a world where Heidi Lamar never existed. As a result, if you included anything that was built with Wi-Fi, GPS, or Bluetooth, that would no longer exist. Now imagine a world where Shirley Ann Jackson didn't exist. If you included anything in your world that requires fiber optic cables for telecommunication purposes, that would no longer exist. If it wasn't for women, many of today's technological conveniences would simply not exist. It is no surprise that you might not know these names, their faces, or their stories, as personally, I did not know either. Unfortunately, despite its long list, the history of women of tech innovators is often left out of the picture, causing this confusion. Only 24% of women exist in the technology space today, and the gender gap is not improving. This lack of diversity and representation ultimately creates a hidden danger, an implicit gender bias which affects everyone, especially women and persons of color. If this continues, our daughters of the present and future will be left behind and deeply affected. Luckily, programs like Girls Who Code, Girls in Tech, and All Women Academy exist to build a pipeline for females of all ages to become the future faces of technology. While their missions have shown astonishing and impactful results, they've hit a plateau in their current rates of adoption. I investigated why this might be occurring and found that much of their recent marketing and outreach includes the use of influencers or celebrities who often have little to no involvement in the world of tech. And while this might lead to high rates of engagement via clicks, a true sense of inspiration was missing. I felt the only way to correct this plateau was by giving audiences what they want. Inspiration formed by relatable examples. Introducing Cypher. Cypher is a nonprofit organization that aims to amplify the genuine stories of female tech pioneers and build collaborative community of sisterhood. We rely on affiliate programs with other female-focused organizations to generate funds, while our site maintenance is carried out by volunteers. Ellen Powell, the former CEO of Reddit, once said, "If we do not share our stories and shine a light on inequities, things will not change." Cypher aims to be that guiding light for girls today, so they protect the future of tomorrow. To start, we must recognize the women who have paved the way as trailblazers in the tech industry. Visitors to our site can discover and celebrate the stories of these trailblazers, such as Grace Hopper, who is also known as the Queen of Code. Girls can engage with video content and learn about Hopper's educational journey and achievements, as well as the obstacles she faced in her career, including ageism, sexism, and rejection. As you navigate further, you'll find interesting facts such as how the term debug in tech development originates from Hopper's discovery of a moth inside a computer. At the end of the page, you'll find words from Grace herself and links to additional resources for further exploration. The trailblazers of the tech industry aren't just limited to the past, they also exist in the present. Anyone can nominate trailblazing women in tech, and our vetting team will review and create profiles of suitable nominees. Staying up to date with current events can be another great source of motivation for girls. By exploring the latest news from the tech industry, they can gain a better understanding of the global possibilities of technology. Cypher aims to offer users compelling and relevant stories. We encourage our users to submit articles in addition to the content available on our platform via submission link. And last but not least, the gallery is a space for audiences to explore, socialize, and engage in the work of other girls in the community. By removing the invisible wall often imposed by program sisterhoods, creativity will flow and intertwine. You can showcase your work in the gallery by using the Decipher hashtag or submitting via the site's forum. Like our other submissions, this process is manually and properly vetted and built by our team of volunteers. To start their tech journey, girls can visit our Get Involved page and take a Thinkful quiz. This helps them find their path and explore that pathway further through 3 tiers of resources: free courses and programs, paid courses and programs, and mentorship resources. They can also check upcoming Women in Tech events happening near them. Cypher and its content have already helped guide, inform, and inspire a handful of female individuals, all with different levels of tech expertise. After exploring Cypher's platform, 100% of the individuals reported inspiration and motivation. During exploration, Natalie said, "I'm only 17, but I know technology is super important for our future. I used to think it was just a bunch of boring code stuff, but after reading these cool stories and seeing how easy it is to get involved, I'm thinking about exploring more." Additionally, Isabel said, "I find action really inspiring. As a woman in tech, I always knew there was a gender gap, but I didn't realize how many stories weren't being shared because of it. I learned so much, and I'm excited to share what I learned with my colleagues and team." As time goes on, Cypher aims to build a wider team with expertise in nonprofit organizations and community outreach to better serve the element of discovery. For too many years, women's contributions have been hidden. Cypher is here to let the world in on that secret. It starts with Cypher to spark inspiration, leading to a program and skill set adoption to impact a world towards change for not only women, but for all.
Amazing work, Brooke, and really powerful, right? As we challenge those biases inherent in tech and look at representation, really powerful stuff. Our next project is another independent project by Juliana.
In Colombia, ever since colonial times, foreign codes have been adopted as role models, while native ways of creating are continuously devalued. We have a colonial mental model that worships what is distant and disdains what is close. Food and fashion systems share the potential of dismantling colonial mental models through the creation of material culture. As a Colombian with a fashion background and a great appetite, I wanted to explore this shared space, and I digged into food first. Colombian food used to be restrained to food eaten at home. It was never thought to be at the level of international cuisines that people treat themselves to at restaurants. To dismantle this, Colombian chefs have pioneered a movement that reframes our perception of Colombian food, stimulating cultural identity and spearheading a decolonizing journey. Decolonization is not founded on the belief that our pre-colonial past should be reinstated. It is not about condemning external influences. Decolonization is about no longer aspiring to be something else. It is about embarking on a journey of self-discovery and reconciling with our identity. Mestizaje, which is the process of cultural entanglement, built our character, defined our identity, and unleashed our creativity. So I flew to Colombia and worked closely with a chef to learn firsthand about food's best practices. This is Chef Vicky. And this is her creative right hand, Johnny. They used a mix of native and post-colonial ingredients, a majority of which were organic and locally sourced. The star of her show was pickled chontaduro, following an ancestral technique from the Colombian Pacific coast. I was inspired by the immense care they put into every step. She fused tradition with innovation by combining ingredients and plating them to create an enticing dining experience. I believe fashion holds the same power as food, so I wanted to trace a parallel by taking an analogous approach for the creation of a fashion object. A punto. A hand-woven recipe. In Spanish, we say food is en su punto when it is cooked to the perfect degree, but un punto is also a crochet stitch. This is me, and this is my creative right hand, my mom. We craft a punto socks with the same care and dedication chefs put on their plates. The star of our show is hand weaving, a social practice inherited from our ancestral artisanal lineage. The interlocking of materials and colors is a metaphor of our cultural entanglement. But why socks? Wearing socks may seem routine, but they have an immense power worth untapping. Socks go on your feet, so they can ground you if you allow them to. By attaching a ritual to the dress object itself, we unlock an introspective moment for you to look within. You're in for a magical moment. Before putting on your socks, sit comfortably and breathe in deeply. Close your eyes and channel your attention to your feet. Moving them a little may help. Open your eyes and grab your socks. Feel the stitches with the tips of your fingers. Each and every stitch was woven with love by Colombian hands, reincarnating a social practice of ancestral heritage. Look at them in detail. You may find inconsistencies. These are what make each pair unique. How valuable are things crafted by hand, aren't they? You can put them on now and adjust them so they fit comfortably. Put your feet down and take this moment to ground yourself. Allow yourself a minute to appreciate your roots. Attribute value to your origin, as it is a big part of who you are today and where you're standing. Isn't it amazing where you come from? I delivered the Ubuntu experience to a group of Colombian friends who said the following.
I felt really connected with myself.
I really enjoyed the ritual aspect just as much as I can appreciate the beauty in the craft of the song.
But it also provided a sense of connection to my home country, Colombia. Like a symbol of how our culture is woven, of like the artisans behind it, the chefs behind it, the people, the farmers, the history. It was even more powerful than I could ever think of.
Following the careful attention chefs post on their ingredients to positively impact the people consuming them and the environment, Apunto socks are crafted only of materials of botanical origin. But fashion hasn't been as lucky as food in keeping our pantries full of local supplies. Important initiatives are working to rescue organic cotton, and we will be the first ones to source it. But for now, we have to resort to trustworthy external alternatives. We're excited to collaborate with Colombian artisans and break into the local fashion market with our hand-woven recipe. The aim is to expand chefs' decolonizing journey to fashion. More than a product, Apunto is an invitation to reconnect with our identity. On the back end, we are committed to only using the best materials and to push for those to be Colombian grown and made. Hand weaving is our biggest asset, so we will be safekeepers of the craft by caring deeply for the artisans that hold the millennial knowledge and those that will carry it on to the next generation.
Awesome. That perspective of decolonization through food and fashion. Oh, let's talk, please. And those socks, I'm ready to buy when you are. Our next project, another group project in partnership with Caddis by Shreya, Emily, Jack, and Minji.
Hello, we're Caddis Group 1. Our members are Emily, Jack, Shreya, and Jet. We have developed a new campaign for Caddis called Find Your Strength, with the goal to facilitate community building through storytelling. To start off, let me tell you a story. When visiting Caddis's flagship store, we learned about Caddis's collaboration with artist Rob Wilson, where he spent an entire day customizing glasses cases. We noticed that this amazing event was not documented across any of Caddis's platforms. From this, we realized that there's an opportunity to tell the little stories that make Caddis the community-oriented, engaging, and playful brand that resonates with so many people. The Find Your Strength campaign will communicate Caddis's story by spotlighting individuals who age awesome and can share their strengths with the world. And with this, Caddis could change the way people view aging on a much larger scale. Our campaign will follow a three-tiered approach. The first tier is centered around short-form videos. The second part of the campaign introduces live events called Find Your Strength Fridays. and the third part is the integration of this campaign into the Caddis website. Here's some iterations we have created for the visual identity of this campaign. We've narrowed it down to the motif of Find Your Strength to this visual, which is shown here in different colorways. The selected visual identity features Caddis frames integrated within the words your and strength to reinforce the campaign's concept. After speaking with a number of local New York City street musicians, we created this video with a focus on these artists who could share their passion and love for their art with the world. This video would be posted across Caddis's social media and YouTube. Here's a prototype of how a video campaign would look.
That's Stuck Walker. I'm 66, going on 67. I'll be 67 in October. What is your strength? My strength? Perseverance. I would say perseverance. A lot of rough patches in my life, but I'm grateful. I have a sense of gratitude.
What is one thing you'd tell your younger self?
Wow. Hang in there. Hang in there. It'll be all right.
Another prototype we created for the video campaigns is a storyboard for a short-form video based around the artist Rob Wilson. The video will be shot in the Caddis space and feature a short story where Rob discusses his strengths intertwined with shots of him drawing in the store. Beyond these prototypes, we have developed a content creation flowchart for building this campaign to a larger scale. It features the framework of the questions in the videos along with a mood board for the campaign's visuals. The coinciding Find Your Strength Friday event would be introduced at the end of the video, inviting the viewer to come see the artist at the Caddis and Whalebone stores. This brings us to the second part of the campaign, the live events featuring the artist showcased in the video. This is a mock-up of the Whalebone space set up to host Find Your Strength Fridays. Here's where the stage would be, and over here is the back room, which could act as a lounge area, where people can hang out and share their stories. Further, Caddis can display their catalogs or even their own magazines as suggested by another Caddis group on the table near the entrance of the store. And this additional back room can serve as another lounge area where people can play billiards, have a drink at the bar, and even access the Caddis store. These events will be hosted bi-monthly on the last Friday of every other month. There will be a rotating schedule of musicians, comedians, visual artists, authors, designers, and other creatives. Caddis brand ambassadors will also be invited to speak about their work and their strength. These events will also be live streamed through Caddis's Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok channels, which allows viewers unable to attend the store in person to still experience the show. Here we've thought out some of the event logistics, such as the event running through happy hour, guests being invited through Caddis's mailing list as well as through our short-form videos, and with RSVP'd tickets going through Eventbrite with a $10 charge for entry. Here, we have listed some New York City-based companies that could be catering partners for the event, which would primarily provide drinks, although charcuterie boards will also be available for guests to snack on. The third aspect of the Find Your Strength campaign is the integration of its own page on the Caddis website. This will act as a dedicated space where people can share their stories, an archive for the artist interviews and performances, and a page for information about the events, as well as a collection of helpful resources for people interested in finding their strength. This is what the events page will look like, where people can access information about upcoming events and reserve a spot. There are many ways that we can scale this campaign. First, we can replicate the video campaign with many other creatives, such as comedians, dancers, graffiti artists, and authors to shine a light on their communities and hear about what strength means to them. Second, Caddis can live stream and release subsequent content of their performances on their social media to build a stronger and more engaging internet presence. We could also integrate the artists we spotlight in this campaign into Caddis's print catalog, which would bring more awareness of this campaign to current and prospective customers. The next step in scaling these events would be hosting them at different venues like bars, pubs, restaurants, rooftops, coffee shops, and galleries around the city. This campaign could also be used as an opportunity to combine product launches with in-store events to bring the Caddis community together and to build connections with local artists to create special designs such as the one shown here. Finally, the Find Your Strength campaign can be expanded to other cities in tandem with the establishment of new brick-and-mortar locations to feature the local artistic communities there. In conclusion, through the Find Your Strength campaign, Caddis will reinforce their brand identity and better communicate their brand story by highlighting those who never settle and are living their passion to build a stronger community. The last question we have for you is, what is your strength? Also, if you can't read this, Caddis is here for you, and age is just a number.
We love brands that feel human, and of course in the BBA we love our eyewear. Last but not least, we have an independent project by Pedro.
A year ago, during the spring of 2022, I was part of a graduate class at the new school called Design Realities, led by the design duo Dune and Ravi. At that time, I was rereading certain writings from Jorge Luis Borges, which had been transcendental for me. I recall having an epiphany one afternoon during that course when I was contemplating the worlds of design and literature, things and words, spaces and stories. I wondered, what is the invisible relationship between making and writing? How can we further unravel it? I have long been obsessed with the arbitrariness of meaning, but more importantly, I have always asked myself, what is the shift between what is and what becomes narrated? Let's consider an example. The One Ring and The One Ring, a powerful artifact that grants immense power to its bearer in The Lord of the Rings. During my research, after spending long hours in the New York Public Library, I discovered a book titled Approximations to the Object, written by a neglected English critic and writer from the early 1800s named Edmund Stone. In his book, Stone unveils the thesis that objects have preceded meaning and that stories, formats, and myths have emerged after certain objects. Design lends itself to narration, yet it possesses its own language and literature of things that exist even prior they become narrated. The first case study Stone unveils is the object sonnet and its relationship to William Shakespeare's poem writing. The Shakespearean sonnets are composed of 14 verses, structured by iambic pentameter, meaning 10 syllables in each line, either simple or compound, and 2 last asymmetric verses that reverse the order of the poem. During his research, Stone uncovers an object of kinship to these poems, which dates back to Shakespeare's childhood. A handcrafted wooden object sonnet made by John Shakespeare, William's father, a craftsman of the time. Stone explains that this object was a gift from father to son and that it preceded the form with which Shakespeare would engrain his poems. We wonder where something so beautiful comes from, where inspiration originates. In this case, it was a toy with rhyme and rhythm, an object of design that preceded some of the most beautiful lines ever written. In this way, I wondered, when did the shape of English woodworking tools begin to influence the shape of literature on that same continent? What other tool forms could have predominated William Shakespeare's childhood imagination, and, if ever, did any other tools achieve a distinct influence in other writers' practices? Another case Stone brings to our attention is the object citation. It refers to a rattle from the 1700s before Christ, which the first printers of the 15th century, during the advent of printing, took as a reference or visual cue to develop ways of citation. Stone explains that the object citation, like a rattle, had the special character of bringing two things together, as a citation does. Furthermore, rattles are objects known for aiding cognitive development in babies, helping them associate an object with a sound. Lastly, there was the object footer, an amputator from early medieval England that served to mutilate the feet of heretics as a form of punishment or payment of debts. Stone explains that this object guided the development of the corporeal or anatomic distribution of the modern text into a header, body, and footer, hence leading to the development of footnotes, a technique placed in the footer of pages to pay debts of knowledge to those who came before us. The more I immersed myself in these relationships, in the power of design as a means to shape meaning and precede narratives, the more I deepened my appreciation for objects and stories, but above all, for design as a way of fiction writing, as a tool for make-believe, as a fictional device included within a fictional story. I started to wonder if we question or care about the reading of things. Do we pay attention to their appearances? Do we consider the possibilities that design offers for imagination? For example, Did any of you ever wonder about the possibility of this piece being written and made from the sign? Would you believe me if I told you that all of the previous cases were fictional and created by me as case studies to demonstrate that we continue to shape our world and that it matters how we engage with it and in turn shape it? That we as designers tell stories and that design as a fictional device is empowering to think about non-existing yet plausible possibilities. Questions and fictions move us forward. They suspend reality. Now, let me step back for a moment. Remember the epiphany I mentioned earlier? I spent months, countless pages, hours, and emotional turmoil trying to figure out how to engage in this conversation. A conversation that is subject to being labeled as fake or deceiving. Along the way, I developed these discoveries to contest what we understand as real and to examine how writing and designing are so closely related. And so I committed to that. Edmund Stone is fictional. He is plausible, but he's a creation of fiction. The book he unveiled is fictional. It's a book around 70 pages long, which I wrote in Spanish and then translated to English. The object on it is fictional. The object citation is fictional. The object footer is fictional. So, how can we use design as a fictional device to craft stories? How can we fill in the gaps of history with design? Along the way, what was confirmed to me was that what is fictional is not fake, and in turn, it is often more true because it operates in its own logic. It escapes what we have been told is, quote-unquote, real. Fiction and writing allow us to see what design has always been capable of. Every act of design is about imagining otherwise. It's about stepping back, about challenging assumption. It's an act of future making. I hope for all of us a future where we can imagine otherwise. The world needs more people who can imagine otherwise.
I don't know about you, but right now I feel like the mind-blown emoji. I just learned so much. That was amazing. Okay, so next we're going to have a panel with our students who just demonstrated our projects. I'm going to invite them up to the front, and then I will introduce our guest who will be moderating that panel. So students, please come up to the front. Feel free to spread out over here too. Does some of you want to come on this side and we can share the space? Better for the photo op too. Awesome, thank you so much. Okay, so now it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed moderator, Mona El Sayed. Mona, I'll quickly read your bio. Mona is a strategist and brand leader with 15 years of experience in the consumer, retail, hospitality, fashion, and luxury sectors. She helps CEOs and founders position their brands for the next chapter, to seize new growth, to express their brand's purpose through courageous storytelling, and to bring their organizations along for the ride. She has led strategy departments at companies including Chanel, where she's now head of strategic planning, global sustainability, as well as Red Scout and Johann Leonardo. Please welcome.
Thank you so much, Danielle. And thank you so much for having me. It's honestly a privilege. I've been just learning about this program over the past several weeks in conversation with Michael, and my mind is blown that it exists. This sort of thing did not exist when I went to university, and I'm just honestly so jealous. And here to tell you that the skills that you're learning here are so needed. This is the work that I do every day. It's incredibly applicable. So I'm really just excited for you for what is going to come next, because you have super bright careers ahead of you, even if it's a little scary right now. So I want to start by talking a little bit about your process, and I'll start with some open questions, so feel free to jump in. And we'll also try, if we have time, to reserve some time for questions from the audience. I don't know, Daniel will be my clock and let me know if we can get to it. But I want to start by talking about your research practices. So this one goes out to anyone who wants to jump in. I'm curious about where your kind of quest for insight and inspiration took you, and what sort of sources ended up being the most fruitful. So I'll open that up to the group. Sure, here.
So, I don't know if this is working. Hello. There. So, I don't know if, so the capstone is structured in 2 semesters, and the first one is based, like research-based practices. So for me, in that part of my project, it was a lot of reading, and it was a lot of working with like affinity mapping and design research methodologies. But my project was a lot of research, and I was very interested in sources that were ambiguous and that leave space for imagination. So yeah, even I underwent like conducting a workshop between product designers and writers to kind of see alternative approaches to design making, to storytelling, or to object telling and story making. So we were working with stories and with images from those stories in different fictional worlds. So yeah, I think the research methodologies of the BBA program were very, very fun to implement, and also to contest and expand in the work I was doing.
Anyone else? Any research tricks or methods that you'd like to replicate in the future?
I think for us, it was really about just being out in the world and kind of investigating and asking people tons of questions. Like the whole Spark for idea just came from being in the Caddis store and asking the employee their questions for like an entire hour. And then it was Shreya who asked, like, if the Find Your Strength thing on the wall was a campaign, and she's like, no, that's just like, find the strength of your reading glasses, like, because that's what you got to do. But yeah, I think just being out there asking questions.
And just adding on to what Jack said, it just reminded me of the entire theme of today, what we don't know. And like, it's okay if you don't know. I just happened to enter the store. I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, why is there a campaign on the wall? And it's good to not know. And that's my feedback on the entire journey of like processing and researching.
If I can echo that, my project is in food and fashion. I had no previous knowledge of food beyond everything you saw I ate last year. So I think the best insights I got from my research for my project were from talking to people in the food system, to chefs. I got the opportunity of working really closely with a chef back home and learning in her space, seeing her act with all the care and intentionality. That's what really sparked my interest and inspired me to craft my own socks. So beyond the research, the desk research that happened, I think talking to people and really learning without knowing, like not being scared to not know, is what gets you to places that you wouldn't get to otherwise.
That's great. I think it's everything you're saying, especially about human insight and empathy, is so important in any design practice, and is something that's been very important in my career. And I think, you know, just to go back to the Caddis group, you guys had a really interesting challenge of empathizing with a target that is not your age, if I may say so, although I know age is just a number. But I just want to go back to that. What was that like? How did you practice perspective taking? How did you inhabit the sort of perspective of the kind of folks who were readers?
Well, it definitely was a sizable challenge for us. Obviously, we had to create a whole campaign from scratch, and we didn't realize that even just focusing on the target audience was going to be sort of an obstacle or something that we had to approach very much from an empathetical point of view. So it took a lot of communication with our instructors, who were very insightful, as well as my own parents, who gave a lot of insight, especially in terms of what people of a different age group respond to, because we were trying to create things specifically for them. So in terms of the live events that we were creating, we knew that it had to be something that would be engaging enough for them to go to, which, and obviously social media as well, we wanted to create content that first that they would hopefully see, because we know that sometimes maybe they won't even be on the platforms, but something that's worth looking out for and something that's memorable to them. So it was a lot of long conversations to discover that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Emily was saying too. I think people overlook a lot of times that older generations are very much on social media, but also looking back at like the previous panel and the discussion around is Caddis cool? I think it is like really cool. Like it makes me think, wow, I'm kind of jealous of the people who are older, maybe because like. You know, there's such a traditional fear around aging, but just their brand, I think, was really easy to work with in what they stand for. Yeah, very artistic, very cool, and down to earth, but yeah.
That's great. That admiration came through. I want to go kind of on the flip side to some of the projects that, to my eye, seem to be drawing very much on people's personal lived experience. Brooke, where's Brooke? Brooke's right here. Would I be projecting to infer that as a female coder and technologist that there was some of your personal experience in your project? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, sure. A lot of my experiences professionally and within school have just come from my natural instinct. I didn't have my creative coding minor because I said, oh, I'm gonna have a creative coding minor. It was because I had taken classes and I realized, oh, I'm 1 credit away from having a creative coding minor. So when I came to implementing it into my project, I felt that natural inspiration and that natural intuition is something that would really foster that and something that I wanted to bring in. So that was kind of my personal experience from just that.
Super interesting. Moving over to the Zarizar group, I'm curious what your journey was like in terms of taking cultural heritage and ancestry, some of which might have been personal to some members of the group or not. What was it like transposing that as a collective?
Well, so I am Indian, and when we were given the choice of the 4 clients, obviously Zarizar really stuck out to me because it showed me what other people could maybe appreciate from my culture and maybe things that I've forgotten living in New York for the past 4 years and Singapore for my whole life before that. And I think it was an opportunity for me and my group as well that was so supportive with the idea to really bring to light South Asian culture and how important it might be to people that wouldn't even know about it. So after looking at the video, I feel like a lot of you might not have even realized that a bazaar experience comes from the traditional streets of India, or that New York Fashion Week now has a South Asian sector of it. So I think it's all about raising awareness and really understanding that India is more than what it used to be a couple of years ago, but where the future it's going, I think it's really, really important to give that credit.
So the culture is so rich, so I didn't have a great education on it before, so it was really a great opportunity to learn so much. And we're so lucky to have this culture to base our project off of because of the rich background. So a lot of it just came naturally, and obviously Raema educated us along the way. And it was just such a fun experience to learn about it all.
I think like right off the bat, when we first look at the brand and kind of like the problem that they presented to us, they wanted to reach a wider market reach, and particularly like the Western audience. But kind of the first thing that sort of popped up to a lot of us was, how do we kind of reconnect this brand with our culture and sort of make sure we emphasize kind of what it actually stands for? Because one of the main things about Zarizar is that they're trying to preserve a craft that is kind of dying, the Himru weaving technique. It is from hundreds of years ago, and that is kind of like an important aspect of storytelling that we wanted to implement throughout our strategy. So.
I had no idea about the Indian culture before, so Raema really did, as the girl said, a really big job in introducing us to the whole culture and how rich it is. And I definitely had like a deep dive into the culture of India, and I think there is a lot more that we could have found out if we proceeded with the project.
Thank you. I just want to say I think it's incredible to be able to work as a blended group from different origins, but to work with a really rich tradition with a lot of sensitivity and nuance. And so kudos to you for that work. So I'm going to give away why I'm here. I'm lucky to be here because Michael, I used to be Michael's consultant. He was my client, actually. He's a really tough client, but fair. But I want to ask a little bit about the experience of working for a real client. So for my groups on the end here, what was that like? Was it your first time working with a client, and what did you learn about that experience?
Yes, well, personally, yes. It was the first time that I really got to, or I was really tasked with creating something for them. And of course, we had a brief, so we had some sort of direction, but we were really left to our own devices. And we were just obviously one of the many groups who were part of like that clientele, like that was working for them. So it was a very, I wouldn't say challenging experience, but it definitely brought me back to what I've learned throughout this whole college career in terms of sort of like the business models or templates that we have been introduced to before, and sort of how to approach a campaign entirely from ground zero. And of course, I think that what really, I think, made our project go so well, in my opinion, is the fact that we all brought different contributions that were very meaningful in terms of visuals or the campaign's actual content themselves, as well as our backgrounds. Because even though we all are part of the same major, I think that we had so many different strengths that we all got to sort of come together and fuse together. So we created such a layered approach. I think that I wasn't expecting our campaign to be so multifaceted, but I think that my group, we just really didn't want to, we didn't want to give up on any of our ideas. I think as soon as we started developing them and trying to provide a response for what we identified as a sort of issue or a point of intervention in Caddis's sort of brandscape, we just went for it. We really did everything that we wanted, so I'm very happy with how it turned out.
So Zarizar is a really small company, so we had a lot of freedom to design the marketing, the social media, the website, everything, so that was really fun for our group. And since the brand is based off of such a rich cultural background and all the traditions that go into making the products, we had so much freedom just creatively with everything else. And we had that backbone of their background that really gave us a really nice, strong foundation to create this company kind of from the start, I guess. And yeah.
Also, since their company is based in India, we the only way to really communicate with them was online through Zoom. So in some cases, we didn't get to, I guess, consult with them our ideas the way other groups would with like the brands that are based here. So yeah, in certain cases we didn't get to show them physically like what some of our assets look like, but it's good to get their input through, I guess, like an online base.
That's great. This question is for my independent projects, and then I'm going to open it up to any questions from the audience. I'm a semiotician by training, and so when I was looking at each of your projects, I was thinking about what your medium, your choice of medium in your kind of project was saying about your intention in the subject, and it's all over the map. We have socks, we have historical design fiction, and we have a very content-rich website. I'm just curious if you can share anything with me about why you chose to work in the medium you did, and yeah, how that worked out for you. Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So my project, I did a book, and I also decided to create the 3 objects that you saw on the video to re-emphasize my argument about this tension and nuance between reality and fiction, and how my design speak about that. But also it was very interesting in my case that I needed the objects. I first had to develop the objects to then write the text, in where the objects appear as a fictional device and as an image to reinforce the fictional discourse. So the idea of writing and of objects was very much intertwined, and I think the book is an object, and the objects might be also a text.
Julia, do you want to answer next? Hi. I think I started my capstone tying it back to fashion because I wanted my college experience to come full circle. I actually came to Parsons as a fashion design major. I am wearing my final fashion design project before I transferred into the BBA. It's been in the closet hanging for some time. But I really wanted to tie back in, and this time wear my fashion designer hat again, but coming in from a strategic design angle. And it was all about approaching the creation of a fashion object alternatively. And after learning so much from the food side, I decided that handcrafting was what would give me room to really get in the process and be very careful and be very intentional about it. And then socks, everyone asks why socks. And first and foremost, I just love socks. But then the real reason is because I do actually think that there's a power behind them. I wear my socks intentionally, and I wanted to translate that and give another person that experience, which is why I thought it was a perfect medium to do all of this in one.
And then for me, when it came to utilizing content creation, that has essentially been the forefront of all my professional work I've done through internship experiences that I've had. But it wasn't my first choice for my capstone, surprisingly. Originally, I was playing with the ideas of products for younger audiences. My mom could attest to the millions of ideas I pitched her that she said all could have gone to Shark Tank, I'm sure. But, however, when it came to centering myself and grounding myself in what says this was my Parsons experience and what have I learned and what have I accumulated, it was that multimedia content. And it wasn't put into my head until I was walking down 18th Street one day, and I walked past the Altman building and I saw, oh, there's a Girls Who Code event, their 10th anniversary. Let me sign up and see what inspires me, see what's a tidbit or fact, something that comes through that will help and resonate with my project. And it was there that they had talked about that plateau that I had presented in my work. And I had talked to many of the individuals within the Girls Who Code community, and just that's really where I found through my own kind of case study work, where I went to their own social media marketing, how are they putting it out, what does their content look like, and saw that gap that they were missing. And that's essentially where my content, when I thought, what's my strengths? Coding and content creation and curation. And that just had merged and married itself together to my end result.
This one is going to be a rapid fire popcorn. I want to hear from every single person standing up here. We often talk about what we want our end audiences or consumers or clients to think as a result of our work, or what we want them to do. I'd love to know in a word what you hoped people would feel after seeing your work. So let's start all the way at the end, real quick, one word about what you wanted people to feel upon seeing your work.
Passion.
Inclusive.
Hope.
I just want them to think like, wow, they did it all.
Inspired.
Fiction.
Grounded.
Connected.
Craftsmanship.
I don't think I have a word, but one thing that we got from the first time that we played this in class, someone said that this was a love letter to India. So I feel like if that could be a word, that would be my word.
Go with love. That's great.
I would say heritage.
Great, thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, and congratulations, guys.
So I want first to thank all the students that participated today. Thank you for your incredible work. And I also want to thank all the teachers of the Capstone that have really guided and mentored them. And final thank you to all the people that worked so hard to make this event happen, to Colleen and Michael and Jonathan and Robert and Daniel and all the rest. Thank you so much.